It's Sunday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for Not Your Normal Sunday Morning Show with Jeff Daugherty and my good friend, R. Wayne Steiger. And I'm trying to mute this before anything happens. I think I was pretty successful. And we appreciate you being here. And Wayne, I had the strangest dream. I dreamed I was with you and Jay Campbell till about 11:30 last night.
Well, that was a nightmare. I don't know if it was a dream. No, it was good. It was a good time.
We were on Forbidden Knowledge's channel.
Yeah, I think Chris is
very good discussion.
I thought it was. It was a very fluid, and I thought it was a very one of those kind of conversations that people should be having, but not sure maybe how to go about doing it.
All righty. And let me just make a statement. I think you've got a great shirt on there. It says polytheism. Why have one imaginary friend?
There we go.
My shirt, this comes from my youngest subscriber, and there's been some discussion that Jeff has gone off the deep end. He's all into unicorns and rainbows now. Mm-hmm. That might be a little bit true, but it's this kind of unicorn and these kind of rainbows. So we are not going soft, ladies and gentlemen. We're still wall to wall and treetop tall. We're just expanding our base a little bit. Is that all right with you, Wayne?
Hey, listen, I think that the greater the base, the greater diversity, the more freer the thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are your impressions of our discussion last night?
I thought it was, number one, I think Chris has got a good future. I think he's building a good channel. And the question was very poignant. It's relevant to our time, to our species, to the moment that we are at. I thought about it last night more, even when I woke up this morning. I had this dream of a list of words that I was being forbidden to talk about.
Really?
Yeah. And it was really odd because I think that this is where we're coming to, that there is this divergence that's taking place with our species. And I think it's the evolution of species. I think it's how species grow, how they advance, is that there is always within a cell, there's going to be a division when growth takes place.
Interesting. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted there for a second, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it was a great discussion. I had never met Chris before from Forbidden Knowledge, and I think he did an excellent job of facilitating a nice roundtable with yourself, with Jay Campbell, and with me. And I think Jay brought out some fantastic information.
I'm still talking about it this morning. I had never met Jay. So that was a pleasure and an honor right there.
Right.
But wow, all I can say is people need to watch that video. I've asked Chris, I'm going to post it over on my channel, because some of the stats that Jay was talking about, the youth, the future men of our species, particularly here in this country, that's scary, Jeff. It's scary.
It is. It was a great show. Everybody should watch it. I don't think I detracted from it too much. And I think it was just really good.
Oh, you added great value to it. I mean, we are at this, it's almost like the 1514. Most people don't realize, Jeff, that what they practice as Christianity was not what there was being practiced as Christianity in the year 1000 AD. This version of Christianity is a very modern religion. It's less than 500 years old. But that took place because of the Great Schism of 1514.
Absolutely. And yeah, the things that we have now, it's like Jay said last night, everything that we believe is a deception, an illusion, or an error.
Yeah.
Everything that we're being taught, I should say, is a deception, an illusion, or an error. And it falls on us to take responsibility to unindoctrinate ourselves, to ask questions, and even more importantly, to question answers, and to stake our own claim to our own mental, spiritual, and even physical place in this world. It's time to break free of the fear and guilt and control matrix. And if you don't, you won't get free because no one's coming back to save you, Wayne. I think you know that.
Yeah. It's odd that so last couple of days, this whole thing, about what prophecy is, whatever the religion is, I knew Tim LaHaye. Him and I were in the same political group together. And so And I can remember back then, I was really under that spell. Man, I actually believed for a fact, Jack, that I had the golden ticket and screw everybody else.
And it is a spell, Wayne. And for those of you who don't know, it was Tim LaHaye along with Ken Jenkins that started the whole Left Behind phenomenon, the Left Behind craze, the Left Behind movement, which is nothing more than Jesuit doctrine. None of that was even known until the 16th century, when the Jesuits, under Ignatius of Loyola and Father Francisco Ribera, brought out everything that you know as eschatology. And I don't mean most things. I mean everything you know as eschatology was written from the pen of the Jesuit Counter-Reformation movement. So it's amazing today, Wayne, that every single Protestant and most Catholics, and that's not so surprising, but that every single Protestant preaches, teaches, believes doctrines that was invented by the Jesuits to hijack the Protestant Reformation. And here we are 500 years later, as you say, and guess what? Mission accomplished.
Bingo. When I was doing the whole timeline of Sapiens religions and going back to about 10,000 BC when we actually had records, and when you realize what they have done, what was it that Martin Luther accused Pope Leo of doing? Practicing black magic in the Catholic Church. In fact, as Martin Luther said in his proclamation, that they had reverted to the dark worship.
Absolutely. So, and I've actually stood at the door of Wittenberg Chapel, Wayne.
How was that?
His theses, 95 theses, I believe.
Yeah.
I stood there at that door. I put my hands on that door. They claim it's still the original door. And it's just amazing the vibrations of history that are still within that wood, whether you think it was a good thing, a bad thing, or whether you're indifferent. You can't help but be moved if you have any appreciation of history by the things that took place there. As I walked around Europe, I would just think I'm walking on streets that are thousands of years old. Everything I see is older than America. And if you're an American and you've never been anywhere else, you owe it to yourself to get outside of this country and see how the rest of the world does things. They're not all as stupid as we think they are.
Oh, no. No, I actually think it's the reverse, to be honest with you. I really do think that we are in this spiral now. And as we were talking about last night, it's my opinion, and opinions change, but I think that we are in the midst of the reset. I really do believe that.
Mr. Alphaster says that Jeff and Wayne are the pipe bomb taking back my Sunday explosion. I rather think of myself as a Molotov cocktail.
Well, if we're going to go ahead and go up, man, let's just do the ICBM.
Yeah, at any rate, we are blowing things up here. And it's interesting, Wayne, that you think we're in the very midst of the reset. I agree with you. I believe that the reset began with the full solar eclipse of last August, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ticked off, speaking of LaHaye and Jenkins and the Jesuits and eschatology, they want to tell us that it may have kicked off, or we're looking for a 7-year tribulation.
Ah, yes.
I believe that kicked off a 7-year jubilation, because there's 7 years between that full solar eclipse and the next full solar eclipse. You've heard all of it. It makes an X across the United
States. Going to be there. Plan on being there
for that second one as well. And I believe that was the end of the correction of Sophia. I believe it was the first time that we've had the completed Christ, the full female Christ, the full male Christ, the Sophia Christos, if you will. And
yes.
I believe for the next 7 years, we have more access than we may have ever had in human history, at least in this round of human history, to full spirituality, to full realization, to full optimization. And I know this sounds a little bit gloom and doom, but I think when this next 7 years comes to an end, you are what you are. So I think you got 7 years to decide who you are. It's time to buck up, Buttercup, and decide who you are, because come that solar eclipse, you is who you is.
Yeah, exactly. I used to tell a joke on that about the zebra. I know, you know it. We can't say it on here, but that's okay, you know.
I thought about telling it.
Yeah. But I think you're spot on with that. it's very odd that when we think that this doom and gloom, right? That's not free will. And I love what Jay was talking about as we expounded on that. What is free will? What is the ability for us to make a choice? And I contend where I've come to all my life, I grew up, Jeff, as you know, in the Pentecostal arena. There was only two buckets. There was bucket A that goes to heaven. There was bucket B that goes to hell. No in between. But
unless you're Catholic, they got that C bucket of purgatory.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And, that one is also man-made, but go ahead with it. I like it. So there would have to be a bucket D, a bucket E. In fact, if God is who God is, there would be an infinite amount of buckets.
One would think if God is infinite, as he says, then he's either infinite or he's not infinite.
One of the two.
One of the two. And it's amazing to me how we've allowed ourselves to get so far into this Stockholm syndrome. And you made a good point last night, and this point slammed home to me when I was watching a movie I think it's called Instinct, with Anthony Hopkins. And
good movie.
And there was this big, huge, powerful gorilla, and he had been captured a long time ago. And he was cowering in the corner of this cage. And Cuba Gooding Jr. is a lawyer, and Anthony Hopkins is accused of doing some not so great things to save these gorillas. And Hopkins opens the door to this cage. And of course, Cuba Gooding Jr. is freaking out because they think this gorilla is going to come charging out and kill him. But this gorilla, I don't know how big a gorilla is, 250, something like that.
Yeah.
Powerful gorilla. Cage door wide open, door 10 feet away that leads back into the jungles. And that gorilla, as powerful as he was, as massive as he was, as fast as he was, as equipped as he was with those huge fangs to defend himself and get to freedom, just a mere 10 feet from freedom. He was so full of Stockholm syndrome. He was so coward. He was so beaten. He was so pounded. And he'd been there, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, that he wouldn't even come out of that corner and walk through an open door. How many of our guests here today have been so beaten down, so pounded down, so tortured, so held hostage, and had so much injustice visited upon them, that even when people like you and Wayne and Chris and Heidi and Rex and all the rest of us, Sandra, D'Angelo, throw open the doors for people, they're still afraid to walk into freedom. And if you are, you've got to go to Sandra D'Angelo's channel. She has 3 videos up about the relationship between narcissists and empaths and highly sensitive people. The 4th one's coming over the next couple of days. And this is a real world journey, ladies and gentlemen, from a person that was deeply involved in Stockholm syndrome, a person that was deeply involved in having her power and her sovereignty and her divinity and her freedom taken away, and a step-by-step description of how to get from there to full liberation. I think it's one of the best things on YouTube this year, and I encourage you to go and also to subscribe to her quickly, fastly, fantastically, exponentially growing channel.
I think that is spot on, because it's poignant to our groups. It's poignant to every person. In fact, I just finished chapter 1 of my book, and it's odd that we're even, because I hadn't planned on it. I said, this is what the final paragraph in chapter 1 is. Give me 1 second here.
Take your time.
It says, the takeover was painless. No battle was put up by mankind. Like the slaves of past empires, we built this from this God. We paid for it, and we're still building it as it commanded us to. This God is transforming everything, even mankind. People fantasize about magical times of mankind past where magic ruled the world. The thing is, that is exactly what is happening. But most will only see technology, nothing more, and will mock those who say differently. But magic it is. This is a magic, or call it a force, that is so powerful, mankind has never seen or witnessed such power from any known god or gods. And it would appear neither have the gods of the past or present, for they stood by watching as the most powerful God enslaved humanity. Maybe they could not do anything, since it was mankind who willingly wanted this, and each human has given their consent, and now worship this God, even though they think they are worshiping their own God, and read their own book. And all the time, while this God could care less for what any of us think, it is humanity that has no indication of a plan, of a time, of us any time being free. Now we have ensured that at least for the foreseeable future, we enslaved all future generations of humanity. The other frightening aspect is that all the world religions are in league with this God.
Absolutely. And Kit Kat makes your point, Wayne. He says exactly, Wayne, or she says exactly, Wayne. Once we leave religion, and this is his words or her words, once we leave religion, you can see the stupidity of it.
Yes, you can. I want to go back on something you said about the female Christos. You know, the thought has occurred. I've been reading, because I read history, and people think that just because I'm no longer a practicing Christian, I don't read the history. You got to.
You have to.
I wonder if Mary Magdalene was not the representation of the female Christos.
That's an interesting discussion. I've kind of wondered it. I've kind of, tossed it around, and I wouldn't argue against it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, wow, there's some pretty deep things that is the personification of a female reality.
And I'm not so big into church fathers, but Augustine, one of the most august church fathers, said that he actually called Mary Magdalene the apostle to the apostles. And Wayne, one thing that makes it even more real to me, and I know I say this a lot, but it's just a reality of where I am right now. I was, pretty good, I think pretty strong in my male sacredness, and I thought I was doing pretty good in my female sacredness. But then when Sandra came into my life, it just allowed me to open up and to realize, and I feel like the sacred femininity is exploding within me. And likewise, she was doing great, but she felt a real balance. We both felt a real balance. She's feeling more strength. She's feeling more confidence. So when you get it right, I mean, you don't have to have a relationship, but for Sandra and I, we had, I think that we are actually better and stronger and more complete together. And I don't know if that's twin flame, soulmate, whatever you want to call it, but each of us as an individual has to find where we want to be. And I don't think that we should shut our minds off to the possibility that there's someone out there that can help us be more and be better. But we have to remember that no one can complete you, no one can help you, no one can fix you, and only after you've done all your own inner work can someone even come along and help you level up and become more than you are. And I think these next 6.5 years now are a great time for people to at least sit back and contemplate, am I better moving on this journey solo, or should I be open to receiving someone else into my life that can help me? And we need to be very diligent, and we need to be very careful, and we need to act in great integrity. Because frankly, and again, I hate to be, thank you, Mark Center, saying I hate to be inject urgency, but we don't have a lot of time left to keep making mistakes, Wayne. It's time to get it right.
No, it's again, as we were talking last night, it's quite remarkable if you can take the step back and look at the 60,000 foot perspective of where we are. I mean, holy crap, there's changes taking place everywhere. I know a lot of people who are still indoctrinated, but the good thing is that they're here. As one who wished me death, I said, well, the good thing is you're here for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to leave this, and guess what? I'm going to live rent-free in your penthouse from here on out. So
we're in their domes. We are in their domes, that's for sure.
That's a fact. And when you think about this, you look at this, what's happening to us spiritually as a species? I don't know about you, but I am seeing this is truly a light explosion. But the problem I'm getting is, what I'm seeing is that we were talking about the youth, the nihilist. There is now those who are walking among us that have no souls.
I think that's literally true. And someone wrote me an email, I'm going to do a show about it, and she agreed that that we do have the spark of divinity within us. But then she asked the question, is it possible for that spark to go out? And Wayne, it reminds me of the eternal security versus non-eternal security argument. But do you think that, I know you believe we've all been given the spark of divinity, do you think we can lose it? And do you think it's possible that as we turn this age, coming into this age, that there are actually people that have walked in or that are walking around that may be absent that spark of divinity?
I think so. And Jay got me thinking on this. So the studies have shown, particularly those of the 20s and lessers, I think that I would say to Jay, I think it goes up in the mid-30s, but I agree. Let's take 25 as the baseline, that as they have become rewired in these video games, that the unobstructed flow of dopamine that the brain is producing while stimulated in video games gets to a point that I think it absolutely overrules that spark of divinity within us.
Wayne, that dopamine, and you know this, that dopamine, when it gets to those high levels of constant, I think Jay said after 3 or 4 years, you're talking about something stronger than heroin and an addiction that is almost impossible to break.
And I know this is kind of, maybe some people will find a little crude, but that's why an orgasm only lasts the little bit that it does. If you were in a constant state of an orgasm, both mentally and physically, it would kill you.
Dude, I wouldn't even brush my teeth. It would be a bad situation. You could just stay in that forever.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. But this is what we've done now to countless tens of millions, if not now into the hundreds of millions, that it's scary. I was reading in one of the papers, a guy that was arrested, get this, 22 years old, who basically there was a 87-year-old man that was getting money out of the ATM. This guy came up and killed him, knocked him to the ground, beat him this absolutely, and had absolutely zero remorse about it. He told the cops, he said he was there, I needed it, I took it.
It's weird. That's becoming so much more prevalent. In fact, I carry around on my keychain something called a monkey fist. Do you know what that is?
No, what is that?
Well, it's about this long. It's like braided cord, and then on the end, it's got like a steel ball bearing.
Okay, yeah.
This cord looks like, kind of like a monkey's fist. And I was at an ATM, and I had that in my hand, and some guy came up behind me, he said, give me my money, and I gave him my monkey fist instead. He went down like a ton of bricks, and I got my car and made my way away. But there really is a lot of crime exploding. And somebody asked a question, Wayne, that I wanted to pose to you based on something you said last night. It says that, who was it? Far Out. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. Far Out said something like, do you think that there's actually more people being born today than there are souls to go around?
Yes.
That's hard for me to wrap my head around. I got to be frank with you.
Okay, so let's talk about this. When I almost converted to Judaism, the belief in Judaism is that there is the goal. That
Wayne
is
Tiger, not a Jew.
No.
Sandler song.
Rabbi Fuchs said, do the Jewish people a favor. Don't. But so the ancient Hebrew belief is that is the Hall of Souls. And that when the last soul leaves Gaul, that is the end. Boom, this age is gone. So the question becomes, if you think about this, we've had the play written for us, and I'm talking about the book of Revelation, and I'm talking about the book of Daniel,
right?
Of which you are well expert on. When you think about, when they talk about a time when there will be only those who seek the pleasure and nothing else, are those actual sapiens with souls, or are those simply bodies that are merely occupying the space? I don't know.
I had a lady named Deborah L. Smith, Breaking Dawn, on my channel this week.
Yes, great show, by the way.
Thank you. And she has sent me another email posing the idea, and I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the show. I think she agrees with you. She thinks that there is a war going on of sapiens versus sapiens, and that there is there is a great number of sapiens that are just as you suggest, that are soulless, and they're actually, being created from the dust of the earth, like Yaldabaoth did at the beginning, and they're being raised as an army to combat us and to combat the earth. So there's really, literally, almost a Walking Dead. Only, they don't look so rotten, and they don't, and it's funny that zombies eat brains, because what are they trying to do, Wayne? They're trying to eat our brains so we don't keep thinking with ourselves. But there may well be a soulless invading force living amongst us, sleeper cells from beyond this world.
Oh, I'm convinced of that. So if you believe the Kabbalah, if you believe ancient Hebraic texts, they could actually make the golem. We know other cultures were able to make bodies that didn't have any soul in them. Now,
even the Hebrews could make golem.
That's what I was saying, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's very possible.
Wayne, it's very possible that there are millions of golem on the earth today.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we've identified some scary stuff, Wayne. If these things are true, if there is a soulless army that's out here trying to destroy us and destroy the planet, what do we do?
I'll tell you, I had a doctor write me yesterday, asked me a number of good questions, and I responded to him. As he said, number one, he is a doctor, and he said, I know that UFOs exist. And he told me about his experience. He says, I know spirits exist. And he said, so he asked me some questions. And one of the questions he asked me, he says, how much does God weigh? And as I told you and Jay and Chris last night, the answer to that question is this: God weighs as much as a thought.
And, it always reminds me of how much does a hen weigh? And hello to Sue G in the chat right now.
Hello, Sue G. So let me tell you something, Jeff. I'm writing this book, and I'm working with some people. Sue G is going to be a part of it. I want to pull you in on it. It's going to be next year, working with people, reaching out to people like Sovereign Key, to get this Sapiens Summit put together. Because here's something
on my channel as well. Thank you for introducing me to her.
Yeah, she is just phenomenal. Here's my position. I'm pretty pissed off at these so-called spirits, these demons, even the angels, if they exist. Because you know what? I'm tired of my species getting our butts kicked because we're so dependent upon a thought that we are somehow lesser in status, and that we somehow seem to be the punching bag for the spirit realm. And when I pass through the life portal, I got some scores to settle. As I told, and I'm making this declaration on this show, the demons that have attacked me in the past, there's payback, brother, coming. Because you know what? They never made it through the rite of the birth passage. They didn't make the ritual. I did. That makes me superior to any spirit that's out there. Unless you've gone through this physical plane successfully, you don't have a goddamn thing to come against me about. And if you've attacked me, my family, my friends, when I cross over, I'm coming for you, Jack.
You don't even have to wait that long, Wayne, but I'm sure you know that. And It's like Doc Holliday said in Tombstone, there's going to be a reckoning.
Exactly.
And if Wayne, that what you just said, most people never get, they never understand. And through my work in the astral realm and through my over almost 40 years now of work as an exorcist, you don't understand the incredible power that you have because you have this physical body. You've got tremendous power. And that's why religion is designed to get you to think you're full of original sin, that you're a dirty, rotten sinner, that at best you can be a sinner saved by grace. Because, Wayne, the moment everybody comes to this realization that you've just had, the moment everybody's come to this realization that I've just had, when we realize that we are divine, we are sovereign, we are free, we are 10 feet tall and bulletproof, yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death that somebody else has created, we fear no evil because we're the baddest sons of bitches in the valley, brother.
Coming for you,
Jack. What's gonna do when we break out all over you, brother?
We're coming for them. And that's what we're going to do.
Now,
Listen,
not later. Now we're
now, yeah. And you know, my point is that we're going to get there. And that's, people said to me one time, they said, well, you seem a little angry. And I said, well, let me ask you something. You have a sister. She just got raped by a gang that you know. What, are you just going to say, well, let's pray about this and see? No, you're going to seek justice. Yeah. And that's what I see our species. We've been raped time and time again. And Jeff, it's documented in the book.
It is.
And we just simply take it.
Because we think we deserve it, Wayne. We are suffering from collective Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
You look at the relationship between so-called divinity and humanity. So-called divinity is uniformly the psychopath, the sociopath, the, what's the word, honey, that you use in your the narcissist.
The narcissist, yes.
And we are collectively the empath. We are the highly sensitive person that is allowing this God form, and I don't even think it's a living God anymore, to dominate us, to torture us, to abuse us. And not only has Sandra given us the formula for getting free of physical relationships of this nature, I believe she stumbled on the formula for getting us free of spiritual bondages of this nature. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is the time of jubilation. It is the time of jubilee. And the only reason that you don't get free in the immediate future is because you don't want to be free. It's here. It's open to you. All you got to do is quit cowering in the corner like the gorilla, walk through the open door on the cage, and walk those 10 feet to freedom. They may be the most difficult 10 feet you ever take, but how do I do it? One foot in front of the other. The journey of 1,000 miles or the journey of 10 feet, guess what? It always starts with the first step. And if not you, who? And if not now, when?
Bingo, bingo, bingo. And listen, maybe the baby boomers, maybe this is our gift as we exit here to the generations behind us. I hope, Jeff, that there are those in their 20s that begin the road and begin to understand and come to this same epiphany and begin to take up the shield for Sapiens and come and finally, you know, the thing about sovereign key, and you and I talked about this months ago. You know, by the way, we're almost coming up in August. I think we've been doing this for over a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a party.
We'll have to have a party. We'll definitely have to meet up, so do a live show together.
Oh, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be. So
we can go out to the, you know, that gravesite near you and say, "Why, Doc Holliday, you look like somebody."
We could actually do a live show from up there.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be cool. I'll look into it. I'll go up there.
Very close to the gravesite of Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday. You know, I'm your Huckleberry.
Nope.
Love that show. But Sovereign Key taught me something, and you as well, I'm sure, because what she sparked in me was that you have to speak a proclamation in order to make the declaration.
You do.
And sovereignty. You talk, I love the shirt that you have. I am sovereign, I am divine. And that is what we have to begin. You know, and I listen, we talked about the Bible. You know, am I against the Bible? No, you said the same thing, but I don't read it. It's a spell. You have to be very cautious. Now, when I go approach it, I got to go, okay, so what am I looking for specifically? Because if you start getting back into it, it has that tendency to be like tar.
It's a spell. It can draw you in.
It can draw you in. And you know what?
I'm at that place where I know there's about 25% of it that is beautiful and powerful,
Beautiful, yep.
But many people get lost in that 75% of it. That's why I've kind of gone away somewhat from the CWB work and have moved into the new cosmic knowledge work. But Wayne, you know, since we're on the subject of Tombstone, I think that you've identified some great things. And there's a scene in that movie, a couple of scenes that really identify what we're up against. There's a scene where Kurt Russell walks into a saloon and Billy Bob Thornton is playing this character that's over there pushing everybody around. I'm gonna slap you, stupid, and he's run everybody out, and he's the god of this realm, and he's a bully, and he's a thug. And Kurt Russell, as Wyatt Earp walks up to him and says, "You're sitting in my chair." And Billy Bob Thornton goes, "Oh, was that right?" He says, "Yeah, that's right, boy." And Kurt Russell declares his sovereignty. Billy Bob Thornton's wearing a gun. Kurt Russell's unarmed, and it ends up with Kurt Russell smacking him. He's bleeding. Kurt Russell says, "You're going to do something, or you're just going to stand there and bleed." And he takes him by the ear and throws him out of that saloon. Ladies and gentlemen, that saloon is our world.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton is the thug god that's not really a god. Looks like he's got a big gun. Looks like he's mean. Looks like he's powerful. That's the narcissist. That's the psychopath, both the physical one in your life and the spiritual one. And all you have to do is walk up to him and challenge him. Tell him, "You're sitting in my seat, the seat of your will. You're sitting in my seat, the seat of your divinity. You're sitting in my seat, the seat of your sovereignty. You're sitting in my seat, the seat of your freedom." And I guarantee you, he may bow up and act tough, but when you smack him, all he's going to do is stand there and bleed. Take him by the ear, throw him out of your life. In the next scene, he comes sneaking up with this big shotgun, and Doc walks out and calls him out, and they start having a conversation. And Doc looks at him, and you will get to this point where you will look at your physical tormentors and this God tormentor. Doc looks at him and says, "Oh, I forgot you were there. You may go now."
And oh, by the way, put down your gun.
Yeah, leave the shotgun. And I believe, Wayne, that Yahweh is dead. I believe it's just a false tulpa thought form that has taken up that space. And all we have to do is take him by the ear, throw him out of our life, and we'll get to the point where he's not even a nuisance anymore, both your physical tormentors and your spiritual tormentors. I believe it.
You just sparked a thought in me. So I think it's Psalms 84 where it talks about the council of the Elohim, and that
82.
82, thank you. And there is a supreme infinite being that walks in. You just sparked something in me. What if the judgment has already taken place with the Elohim that caused this crap? He's gone.
He's gone.
And now there's a void here. And holy crap, Jeff, this is a good thought.
There's other Elohim that are willing to work with us.
Bingo, 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 bingo.
So it is we do need to have a Sapien conference, and then we need to have an Elohim conference where once the Sapiens get together and figure out who we are, then we can reach out to the other deities that were not this thug deity, and we can start working together and not only change this planet, but we may, Wayne, be able to change and redeem and alter our entire universe, this entire quantum spectrum, and maybe even beyond. What if the quantum reality of this entirety is waiting for us to grow up into who we are and begin acting like we're supposed to act, doing what we're supposed to do?
You see, you're speaking the vision I have for the Sapiens Summit. Number one, it will be a declaration of our sovereignty as a species. We've never done that as a species. I've checked everywhere back in history. This has never been done.
I think we tried it at Babel.
Maybe. Well, that's a good point. That is look what happened. So the first thing we do is that we basically declare our Magna Carta of our species, of all sapiens. 2, we call all the deities to present themselves. Either they present themselves or they will no longer be spoken by any sapien. The minute you stop speaking of God's name, that God dies. So either they're going to manifest or they're not. Thirdly, we will reach out to those who want, let's say the Elohims, who will come and make a new contract with us. Because we can do this now in our cognitive, rational, sovereign divinity beings.
Wayne, it sounds like a return to Babel, and that's just my game.
I love it. I had not thought about that.
They think, they say that Yahweh showed up at Babel. I don't know if he did or not, but this Sapien conference is going to happen. And if this thug god Billy Bob Thornton that's just standing there bleeding, I dare you to show up. And if you don't, you're done.
I think then we make it a declaration that his name will never be spoken amongst us.
I agree.
You don't think that this is a threat? It's not a threat, and I'm just telling you, it's our vibration is going out there. We're coming.
There's a difference between a threat and a promise, Wayne.
Yeah, this is a promise.
This is a promise.
You know, I keep on seeing that scene with Kirk Russell there in the shootout there on the creek, you know, and
It just says no.
No.
And he goes out there and he blows all these people away. And it's classic too. At the end of that scene, some guy walks up to Doc Holland and he says, "Where's Wyatt?" And Doc says, "Down by the creek, walking on water."
Walking on water. And who was the gang? Charlie? What? No, it's the guy. You know, the one that the mustache. Who?
Powers Booth.
Yeah. Curly Bell. When he saw that out there, he says, "Look at that."
That's right. And when we start becoming who we are, even the deities and the demons and all of these entities that oppose us, when they see us stand up, and if you remember, Kurt Russell walks out in front of a full crossfire, starts blowing guys away, doesn't get shot. And Curly Bill says, "Well, you look at that.
Look at that."
That's what they'll do. They'll see us. They'll fire at us. They can't hit us.
They can't
destroy us. We are so powerful. And they're going to say, "Will you look at that?" And it's like Kurt Russell said, "Tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with
us." Yeah, we're bringing it.
We're bringing it, brother.
And no sapien will ever go to hell because it doesn't exist. But we're going to bring the concept of hell to these spirit beings, and it's a day of reckoning coming. You know what?
Absolutely.
When I realized that prophecy is a mind control game because prophecy leads to predetermination, predestination, and I said, "Time out. We can change this book." And Jeff, I think that this is that first step.
Just because somebody else wrote a book doesn't mean that we can't change it, annotate it, or throw the damn thing away and write our own book.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. A gentleman and a saint. You truly are.
I'm excited. Let's get going.
Well, I'm telling you, working with it, I'll be talking with Sovereign because I think Sovereign is, to me, she's laid the foundation of this universal proclamation. I got to tell you, Jeff, and this is my imagination, but when I meditate on this, I can't see it completely because it's still in this fugue, this mist, but I got sense that I can feel power. And that's what I get from the Sapiens Summit. There's potential great power, Jeff.
I agree. 100%. 100%. When we realize who we are, that's power. And then when we get into a synergistic force, I always mess it up. The power is greater than is greater than the sum of the parts. We become more powerful. And I'm reminded of the scripture that says 1 can chase 1,000, 2 can chase 10,000. If we put together my 14,000 and your 50,000 or whatever you're at, and Rex's 200,000, how many can those people chase?
Oh, I think we can do this. And the thought hit me. We should do this, hold this summit in a place that I think there could be potentially 1,000 or more people show up for this. I'd like to see every representative from every country send an emissary to this summit. I'd like to see the titans of business come into this summit because we cannot exclude anyone. That's the problem. Either we do this as a collective whole, or we're just basically going through a mental masturbation. That's all we're doing. And I don't want to do that. I want to do something substantive.
Wow, that's such a poignant picture. And that's really, until we actually start moving out of the Stockholm Syndrome, until we actually start moving into our sovereignty, our divinity, and our freedom, everything we do is just a make-believe matrix, and it is really just so much mental self-stimulation. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't. And we're going to change that. I want you to think about this, and I'm going to put this out to everyone out there, and I'm going to be posting it on my channel. So folks, think about this. So an odd thing is that I found out what Roswell, New Mexico and Mount Hebron have in common.
What's that?
They're on the 33rd parallel.
Interesting. And Sandra asked if you could link that proclamation that you're making reference to.
Yes, with Sovereign Key's website. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will. And it's and as she said, it's a work that is constantly in motion. And I want this to be the Magna Carta of our species. I think it's time, Jeff.
And I want to share something with you, Wayne, that I think you'll be excited about. Within our realm, truthers, new thought, whatever you call it, there's kind of a dichotomy. You've got the unicorn and rainbow woo-woo people on one side. Then you've got like the truthers on the other side. And up until now, never do the twain mix.
No.
Two very separate groups. And I was listening to Sandra listen to a lady called Magenta Pixie, who's as woo-woo and new age as they come. She's a British lady. She's got, I think she's upwards of 60,000 subscribers. And she said, it's time for the people and she said, the woo-woo, unicorn and rainbow new age to hook up with the people in the truther movement and begin to find reasons to work together, begin to find commonalities instead of differences. So not this coming week, but the week after, Magenta Pixie is going to come on my channel.
Excellent.
And explore this whole idea. And Wayne, I'm getting goosebumps because I think this is part of the Sapien Conference. This is part of uniting the woo-woo New Agers with, us. We're unicorns and rainbows, but a little different style. And we can get together, and again, we can be greater than the sum of the parts when we join our energies to each other. We're too small to be circling up and shooting at each other. I thought the Christian army was the only one that killed its wounded. We do the same thing. We need to stop. We need to get together. We're more powerful when we're together. I'm very excited to see Magenta Pixie and to speak with her in a couple of weeks.
That's cool. I love the name, by the way. That is so cool. Magenta Pixie. I mean, you just visualize it.
Absolutely. And she is exactly what you would think Magenta Pixie is. So it's going to be a very, very interesting program.
You really hit onto a point. This can be the great healer and the great coming together.
Wayne, could it be the two witnesses, quote unquote?
Hey, listen. There are forces, as they would say, we're not in Kansas anymore.
We are not in Kansas anymore.
We are not in Kansas.
The witch is dead.
Well, she's dead. And, now we're walking into this. And the thing that as you just said that, it just, boom, hit me. We've owned the Emerald City.
Yep.
We have just moved ourselves outside, never realizing that we had the key to the door.
Absolutely. It's time to click our heels together 3 times and say there's no place like home and take our divinity, our sovereignty, and our freedom back.
Yeah.
And it's not a dream. It's time to wake up from the dream and move into reality.
Well, we need to start talking to organizers. This event, I believe, will be absolutely. And if we know people out there, I know you may know people who know how to put on large venues like this.
Jay Campbell's one of them.
All right, so we ought to get Jay involved in.
He's an expert at putting together big, large real estate meetings and things of that nature.
Okay, and I'm very good at raising investment dollars. People will invest in this. We just have to have the forum, the venue, and this is, I believe that this will be something that'll break through the political nonsense of our time. I think that this will begin to, how shall I say, I want to be kind about this, begin to diminish the hold that religion has had upon our species.
Absolutely.
And, if we can make those two divides become one, Jeff, then you and I have done our work.
Absolutely, brother. We have. And I know we're a little bit short, but I've always been taught, and I saw on Seinfeld, always stop on a high note So
Yeah.
this would be a high note to just go out on, because it's powerful. Wayne, give us a final thought and let us know where we can contact you and take advantage of all the great research and work that you're sharing.
Okay, I just want to share this because Tony will be on my channel, but it's on her page, and I love this. So remember, folks, a belief is defined as being something that you are convinced is true without it ever being proved to be true. Let's make this a reality. Let's make this a foundation that future generations can take, and this could be our greatest legacy that we could leave for the future.
Absolutely. And folks, his channel is R. Wayne Steiger. Please go there and subscribe. And listening to Sandra's series about the empaths and the narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, highly sensitive people, whether they be physical sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths, or there are this spiritual sociopath, narcissist, psychopath, they've got the ability to get us to believe, to put beliefs into our head. And if you look at the etymology of that word, if you accept their beliefs, you will be the lie, and then you're effed.
Wow. Let's change it.
Let's change it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is the New Cosmic Knowledge channel. He heads up the R. Wayne Steiger channel. And remember, it's always time. It's always your option to embrace polytheism, because why have just one imaginary friend? For Sandra D'Angelo, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Folks, unindoctrinate yourselves.